The wide strip of murky brown in the water and along the beach is seaweed. More precisely, Sargassum, a genus of large brown algae. It's burgeoning in many parts of the Caribbean.
It grows incredibly fast. This is a really huge, potential huge ecological disaster.
But some people view the abundant seaweed as a business opportunity.
We're going to create a whole industry and export it. Ultimately, we'll even cultivate sargassum because there won't be enough.
We're ready to join the battle and do our best.
Sargassum normally floats in large mats out in the Atlantic around Bermuda, but in recent years, vast amounts have been washing up on stretches of the Caribbean coast. All that sargassum is impacting the ecosystem. Scientists have come to Puerto Morelos on Mexico's Yucatan coast to investigate the phenomenon.
We don't know a lot about this plant yet because the basic biology is not really well known, but we know warmer temperatures, it grows faster. More nutrients, it grows faster because that's its basic plant biology. If we knew more, we could predict a lot better.
Once beached, sargassum starts to rot and stink, releasing hydrogen sulfide, which smells like rotten eggs. This year is the worst on record. Barbados even declared a national emergency. Caribbean countries are worried they'll lose a valuable source of income. In Playa del Carmen, 30 kilometers south of Puerto Morelos, they're saying there have been fewer holidaymakers this year. The authorities are trying to tackle the problem. One approach involves installing long floating barriers to keep the sargassum away from beaches and swimming areas.
This is the barrier we've designed and produce here in Mexico. We call it the anti-sargassum barrier.
The lower part has holes for fish and turtles to pass through. Sargasso Solutions started producing the barriers just a few months ago. A lot of other companies are being set up to join in the efforts to beat the seaweed.
Mexico doesn't have any experience in dealing with this. All the firms that are getting involved and are trying to tackle the problem come from other sectors, just like us.
It's not clear whether the floating barriers will be able to withstand the next massive surge of sargassum. One has already sunk under the weight of the weed. Floating booms are at best a temporary protective measure, though. The sargassum is probably set to come again and again. Other companies say the solution is to gather it up on boats while the seaweed is still out at sea.
We're also working on the final stage of the process, namely what to do with the sargassum. That's what everybody is thinking about.
300 kilometers to the west, in a lab near Merida, they're working on producing biogas out of sargassum. Generating gas with algae is nothing new. What they're doing here is refining the process by adding a specific fungus.
The fungus breaks down the cell walls of the seaweed, and that makes the source of carbon more accessible. It speeds up the process and it increases the yield of biogas by 30%.
The results so far are promising. Now the researchers want to scale up production, but first they need to get more funding. Other projects want to use sargassum to help people in need. Omar Vasquez has built a house out of adobe and seaweed.
Every brick contains a high percentage of sargassum. There's also some in the mortar between the bricks. All in all, the house is 60% sargassum.
The house hit the headlines. There had never been anything like it. Construction companies have contacted Vasquez and want to build on his work. It's not yet clear whether the house will withstand rain and wind, though, or how long its lifespan might be. It has 2 rooms and a toilet and is said to be earthquake and hurricane resistant. If it proves its worth and goes into mass production, it could make a significant difference here.
I'm interested in the social impact, generating jobs, providing homes for people with few means, very poor people. I don't see this as a business. Nevertheless, we're starting to produce houses in response to the demand. There is a lot of demand, so we're going to set up a number of companies to manufacture these houses as soon as possible.
By the end of the year, the sargassum should be gone along the Yucatan coast. But next May, it'll probably be back. That's been the pattern since the deluge began a few years ago. The researchers say ocean warming resulting from climate change is boosting its growth.
1 ton of sargassum being input in the Caribbean Sea, for example, being near Trinidad or Barbados, which was only 1 ton, at the time it arrives here, this 1 ton has become 12 tons. It's in the system, it's in the ocean, it's found its ideal environment, it's going to stay.
Poorer countries in the region are looking to Mexico with its greater economic and scientific resources for solutions to the problem.